Good afternoon, and blessing, my villagers. May God forever bless us in these trying times, I tell you, and trying times they are, which requires us to take a few steps forward toward courage, which is nothing new for us. Believe me, we have been in worse situations. Many of you haven't now, but take my word, we have been there, done that. The difference is we have more to work with. You know, first, we have the knowledge of where we've been. Secondly, we have tools we didn't have before. And thirdly, we have access that we didn't have before. So we are prepared. We just got to believe that with God on our side, we can be the David against the Goliath of our time. As I said, I'm the product of a very special generation, the generation of segregation and Jim Crowism. So I know my history, and I've lived my history. So you see, when you know your history and you have literally lived with through some of it, this attempt to repeat it doesn't surprise me. That's why I stress on this podcast that we have to have the knowledge of our history, lest we perish for lack of it. And see, that's scripture. Hosea 4:6 says, my people will perish for lack of knowledge. Well, for me and my house, Unapologetic Amateur looking for experts in Africanism, we're going to keep that knowledge flowing. And this is from the elder, from your elder here. Now, I actually thought my generation, I think my generation is coming back in vogue. Here I thought we were relics of the past.
Like that.
But I was listening to a radio station. It was Sirius 126, and I think it was the Laura Ingram show, where the young lady was giving kudos to what is technically called the silent generation. She declared that, quote, we need you all. I was blown away because, you see, in this society, the Western society, age is a negative, whereas in the African society, the elders are revered for the wisdom, for the knowledge they possess. So it felt good to know that we, the elders, are being needed again.
Yes.
But what all of us have got to do is what we've done on this podcast. Learn our history. Then you'll know who you are, what your strengths are, and what they have been, which will give you a better picture of what you can do in the time of these what they call them MAGA, that Trump phenomenon. You know, one of the things we are doing here, in addition to unearthing the truth behind our situation, we are educating our youth, our children, because they are the generation that will carry on. Now, I'll get into that later, but right now I want to thank my team. I want to thank Sheila, the producer, Juanita, my advisor, my promo crew, Elijah, Halim, and Chastity, and, of course, my engineer, King Norm here.
Brother Norm.
Keeping it real, I tell you. And, of course, my co-host, he's an educator, an author, life coach, financial advisor. He's the paragon of all things great in this community.
Praise be
welcome,
to the
welcome.
ancestors.
We're trying to do so much at this podcast because we see the urgency of reestablishing our image amongst ourselves, first of all, and the world that has been stripped from us. So to that end, we established a homeschool for our youth, a K through 10.
Beautiful.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't give credit what credit is due. And this credit goes to the former governor of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis. You ask me why.
Shout out to Governor Ron.
When he made the ignorant statement that the Africans who were stolen, brought over here in chains, benefited because they learned trades and skills they didn't have, he said. Now, that's the most ignorant and ridiculous statement that any human being had ever made. See, that's why I question if white men are actually human. I have been sending out questions to my white sisters, sort of woman-to-woman thing. What manner of man do you have? What's wrong with your men? It seems they have everything, but unlike any other male species in any other group, they are different. Their actions be categorized as inhuman. They're like beastly, savagery. You know, the onus is on you, my white sisters. You birthed them, you raised them, and you support them. Come on now. Something got to give. As I said earlier, you know, we established a homeschool to teach our children before they leave home who and whose they are. Now, my sister Lula, who was my co-producer and the director of the homeschool, went home to be with the Lord and the ancestors. We're going to carry on her in her honor.
Yes.
The ancestors that will be looking down on us and expecting us to carry on how they, in the way and the strength that they have carried, brought us through. Now, she tried to make a difference, and that all any of us can do, make a difference. We believe teaching our kids their history will make a difference. Now, I have been blessed, and I know that God has sent me this woman of God who will step in and continue the task that my sister Lulu was responsible for moving us forward as our new director of Williams ACAP. She was stuck in traffic for a minute, so we're going to have to wait a minute for her to come on. But in the meantime, I'm going to have my co-host give us a few words on the efforts that he's putting forward in trying to do exactly what we know we got to do in these times. Got to move our people in direction that's going to put us back where we need to be. You know, we can't allow anybody, anything, or any incident to stop our progress. And that's what it's going to be with us, going to be progress. So welcome, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me once more. How you feeling today?
I'm really feeling strengthened. I'm feeling that we have, although having watched over the weekend the crazy stuff that's going on in the government, which I try not to watch, but it comes through somehow. But in spite of all that, I'm feeling encouraged.
I like that. How you feeling emotionally? You all right?
I'm doing fine emotionally. You know, God be my keeper. I have no choice but
I like that.
No choice.
I like that.
What did your day have been like? What do you?
Well, you know, I woke up this morning, so I'm extremely grateful for that.
Oh yes.
I made prayer. You know, this is the holy month of Ramadan. I made prayer.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the believers. Yeah, my day's been a little up and down though. You know, my dad, he just had his second brain surgery.
Oh.
So, you know, my family is dealing with that. My sisters, I must shout out my sisters, man. My sister, she's showing tremendous strength during this time. You know, the strength that I don't necessarily have in this moment due to certain upbringing, situational events that the family have gone through. But she's showing amazing strength. My two oldest sisters, I'm the third oldest of 10 children, so my two oldest sisters are showing tremendous strength right now.
Well, praise God for
and
that.
It's just been a phenomenal journey so far. I was with him today. You know, he was released from the hospital, and the brain is serious. You know,
very.
The basal ganglia, which is responsible for creating habit. You know, the prefrontal cortex, which is, I believe, responsible for decision making. It's just tough on him, you know. But he's battling, and he's getting through it. But it's my emotions is heavy. But I'm doing this month. You know, the teachings insist that we learn that there's great victory in our hardships that comes after the hardships.
And how do we know that?
Great ease.
Yes.
After, and perseverance. So, today is really been good. I had a nice day.
Well,
Very reflective. Praise
Great,
be to
great,
God.
great. That's the idea. That's the point. That's what we know. And if we go back in the recesses of our history, we know that our ancestors have gone through so much. So that's what gives me courage, and that's what gives me encouragement to know that although we are going through so many things personally and otherwise, we have the strength.
Yeah. So
we have been endowed with the strength to move through these things, and we're going to do that.
I encourage anyone who's going through anything financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, just stay robust.
Right.
In your efforts to be devoted to prayer.
Exactly.
I will encourage people to be very devoted to prayer, devoted to action. Remain steadfast in your faith, because we, as people, we need it. Now that may be abstruse for some to comprehend, but I believe that with prayer and remaining steadfast in your faith, it's nothing you can't overcome.
There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. As we have learned that over time. See, we are unlike any other people on the face of the earth. We have been put through tests that no one else has been put through. Yeah. We have been subjected to things that no one else has been subjected to.
Sure.
I listened to a young lady on Sirius Radio again, so that's what I listen to now. I advise all of us who are dismayed and can't seem to figure out our way to tune into your black voices. And I say that because if you're tuning in anything else, you're just listening to a lot of garbage. Yeah. And we're just trying to keep it together and get it together because we know from whence we came. Yeah. And we didn't have that understanding of how we got through those, 200-300 years of they call it slavery. Yeah. I want to redefine that word, because I say, if that's slavery, and people will tell you now, well, some of us even enslaved each other. Well, if that's slavery, that wasn't slavery what we went through 200 years over here. That was something else. Yes. And I would assume that you might call it genocide, you might call it ma'afa, whatever you want to call it, but please don't call it slavery, because you get me confused. Yeah. I know that we've gone through stripping. I use that word often and say, because I don't know of any other group that went through stripping. They may have been enslaved, working it for free and all that, but not to strip you of your wealth, your health, your education, your spirituality. Just stripped us for no reason. Well, for a reason we are learning now. We learn now that folks knew who we were even before we knew who we were.
Ain't that
the greatest of all things.
That's
so that's jealousy being applied to us when we were just people trying to, reach out and help. So we got a lot to learn. Now I see I have my my guest in. And I was talking about you, Rose. I was saying that with my sister Lula having gone on to meet with the Lord and her ancestors, you are taking her place. So we're trying to do now with our children, trying to bring them in to learn their history, because we know their history never was given to them, really. But the one that the little bit that was in the school is being taken out and being discarded. Well, we don't have to take that, because we can teach our own children. Matter of fact, that is what we really should have been doing.
Absolutely.
So we created this homeschool called Williams ACAP. And we are going to, once my co-host, read Ms. Moore's, and she's going to be our director. God has sent her. He's going to read her bio, and then we're going to have her come on.
Time my mind is still in with my dad, so.
Want me to read it, maybe?
You can.
Okay, so I'll read it. I'm going to read. I told you all that I was waiting for my new director to come on, so I'm just going to read her bio, and then I'm going to have her come on and explain to us what she's going to. I know I'm away from this mic. I'm going to explain to us, but let me see. I have been blessed. Okay, as I said before, I've been blessed, and I know that God has sent me this woman of God who will step in and continue the task that my sister Lula was responsible for moving us forward. As our new director of Williams ACAP.
Yes.
Now, okay, I will read her bio. Her name is Rose Moore, a native of New Jersey, is a black history researcher, and how we need one. Ms. Moore studies black history from antiquity to modern-day Western civilization. She has investigated the black roots in the Bible, discovering people of color being the only people of the Old Testament scriptures, the progenitors of mankind and the original people of all, in capital, all civilizations. She wrote her first publication on black presence in the Bible, 2004, tracing the root of mankind back to Africa, and the first woman mitochondria, if I mispronounce, mitochondria, DNA.
Yes.
The Discovery Channel has presented the evidence in the documentary film titled, quote, The Real Eve. Today, she continues her research in the spiritual and psychological dynamics of the black man's plight through history. Since then, Ms. Moore has engaged in independent studies on the subject. A graduate of Rutgers, 1980, Eastern Theological Seminary, 2004, she currently studies universal laws as they apply to spiritual psychological construct of the character of man. She writes papers and articles on the subject. She has taught on the subject since 2010. She facilitates mental wellness and biblical study groups. She is an inventor and first prize award winner of the AWISN, American Women in Science, in 2020. Yes. Ms. Moore has recently returned to college, pursuing a master's degree in psychology with a focus on people of color and Caribbean studies. Her ambition is to help promote health and wellness to her people from the psychological destructive patterns imposed by systemic racism. And here we have Ms. Rose Moore, our new director for the kids at Williams Academy. Rose?
And I'm so pleased to be here.
Pleased to have you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. And I am delighted, I must say, to be able to take this position. I only hope that I can bless and be able to do half the job that my predecessor did.
I'm sure you will.
All I can say is that I am elated that I will be teaching these children and bringing them forth and acclimating them in who they are, and continue the work that she started, you know. They are part of Williams ACAP, that, as it was said earlier. And the ideas that we will do is basically what I've been doing all this time, because they are our future.
Oh, yes.
And they must carry the torch
yes.
that our ancestors started, continue to fight, and that's what I'm doing. We have to educate our own, because we know history has lied, and have not only lied, but has persecuted us in the knowledge of who we truly are. We are God's firstborn, and we are ancestors from kings and queens, and our children need to know that so that we can take and they can take their rightful place in this world. I have the great pleasure of being able to work with Elijah, grade 9, age 14, Chloe, grade 5, age 11, Chastity, grade 4, age 9, Halim, age 7, age 13. Is this Awa? Grade 6, age 11. And Lani, we call Munchie.
Munchie,
grade 5, age 10. And Sanai, we call Nene. Nana, grade 2, second grade, age 7. Wow. I am so delighted and I love children. Their minds, they're like sponges, and I'm sure they're going to do us proud as they learn and step out and grow into the positions that they were born to do.
Good.
This is their destiny.
Oh, definitely.
And we have to help them get there.
Got to get there. And I understand that's going to begin when, Rose?
I believe Monday. We'll be starting the last Monday of the month, and every Monday from there in.
Right. Okay. And the first one I think is April 28th.
Okay.
The end of April going to be the very first
I'm
episode.
excited, and I am very anxious to
I
get
am
started.
excited too. As I was saying before you got here, I got to give credit to where credit is due, and that this all came about because last year, a year and a half or wherever time ago, when this crazy governor of Florida, DeSantis, made the statement that we were brought over here when they stole us and captured us and brought us over here. They had to teach us how to maneuver and how to the skills that we developed, which is a lie because we build the country, we build the whole place here, and so they knew that was a lie. Right. So we got to they know it, but our children may not know it, or we some of us even don't know it. There are many that don't. Yeah, so we got to make sure we get this message through. And because of how they have now taken the little history that we had in the school out of it, was never true history anyway, but the little history that we had in the school, they've taken it out, and which prevents us from even broaching the subject, so that's the whole idea behind it. But when I wrote my book, my last book there, Ode to the Black Man, Why Shouldn't I Cry, I listed some of their greatest educated scientists from back in the day who brought forth the notion, this this nonsense that we were least of humanity, when they knew better. So it was purposely done to not only miseducate the world, but to it eventually brainwashed us. And I use the word brainwash. My good friend Dr. California said that's brainwashed is brain dirtying. They dirtied our brain. So now we got to clean our brains. And that's what we're trying to do here at this podcast, to make sure that we don't just bring knowledge. And I hear that a lot. Say, well, we got to have a lot of knowledge. Now, if you don't have true knowledge, that knowledge that you got is part of what they bring in. So we see what happened with that. I'm just excited. I'm just glad that you decided to take this on. And it wasn't you decided. God had planted you here, put you in this place at this time so we can make a difference. And I was telling you, my co-host here, he's going through some personal issues himself, same as I did like a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. 2 months ago now, a month and a half, when my sister passed, or my best friend, one of my best friends. I have another sister. We all three were just as close as you wanted to be from the time we were together. We sang at some point called The Phenomenon, and we'd done other things together. She was just one of the kegs to the wheel. But when you lose a loved one like that, or you're going through serious issues like he is with his dad, you said, it just takes it all out of you. But you gotta just know that God is always on your side. He always will strengthen you. He will always be there to undergird you. And that we're going to be praying for our brother. But he's quite a young man himself. You can see he's a young man. And you don't have to be next to me to see that. But when you're looking at the person sitting next to the elder here, you will know that he is. But he's done so much. I was reading his bio just now, and I said to him, well, dog, how did you manage to get through? And in all that, he managed to come here and assist me, because he didn't have to do it, but he did. And he's a life coach.
Wow.
He's a educator. He works with children, too.
Wonderful.
He may tell us a little about that. He's an author. And I didn't bring your book, but you've got to tell me the name of it again.
The name of the book is entitled Purposely Miseducated.
Yeah, isn't that so timely? Purposely Miseducated.
Okay.
So it's a doctrine on how to escape mediocrity, and it was inspired due to my own personal journey throughout school, and I seen how the system, just I want to say, how it purposely pushes us through school. Now we all know school starts at home with the parent, but when you think about how our parents have been constructed through their upbringing, by the time you leave school, it's too late for you to really understand what's going on. And then you leave school, you have to waste 10 to 15 years trying to figure out your life. That's time you really don't have. Especially in a society where you are systematically denied a lot of opportunity, which is less fortunate. However, one of my biggest mentors ever that I've never got to meet, and one day I'm sure I will, in the other plane when I transcend, is the Honorable Malcolm X, right? Which is his real name is Ellicott, right? But it's an Islamic principle. But I studied Malcolm X a lot, and his ability to self-educate himself was remarkable to me.
Wasn't it?
So after doing that, learning about Marcus Garvey, the Garveyites, man, Marcus Garvey was truly one of a kind.
Another sensational.
Then it just trickled down to Huey and the Panthers, all these guys, and even the females was tremendous learners.
Yes.
And it's just things that school can't teach you. School can't teach you life.
Right.
It teach you systematic ways to run other people's programs, but it really can't teach you
Absolutely.
life. We need to learn life.
It educated us to be workers.
Yeah.
So, it's just crazy. In 1902, John Rockefeller Sr., he said something that was profound to me, right? And he said that, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. And he founded the General Education Board, which is today the Board of Education. So to this day, we're still under that concept of, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers.
Right.
And do I believe that there's something wrong with being a worker? No, I would tell any child I believe that you should go under someone to understand how this thing works. You have to understand the game you're playing.
Right.
But after that, I highly encourage you to rear out on your own and go accomplish something for yourself, because I can't pass down my children someone else's company.
Absolutely.
So that's where it really stems
Absolutely. That's profound within itself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I can't take stock shares out of someone else's establishment, someone else's company that they build, right? When you think about the 10 most powerful companies that run the world, a lot of people have no idea who these companies are. These companies are very powerful, and they are making all of the decisions.
Well, I think it's brought to us now for those of us who never even dreamed of it, what Musk is doing. We see it an example of what billionaires and rich people are doing that we probably never, a lot of us hadn't heard of. I've heard of him as a South African, apartheid type of person. But we are being shown now what the rich, the powerful, mighty can do in a short period of time. Within a month, they've changed this world almost upside down to the point that you don't even recognize it anymore. It was never great for us, but it was manageable.
Yes.
It's not even manageable for us or anyone else at this time. We just got to figure out through God's help how to get a hold to it.
That's right.
But He's bringing in He's bringing in some new ideas, not new ideas. He's enlightening us on how they maneuver, how they operate.
It's being revealed now.
Revealed.
But I do believe that He will. He is the Almighty, and they can only go as far as He allows them.
Good
and
teaching.
it's for a reason. It's to wake us up.
Yeah.
I believe we really need to unify.
Yes.
We need to unify,
Absolutely.
and all the people who know financial. How to teach people how to be financially stable.
Yes.
I think those people need to be brought to the forefront.
Absolutely.
Because it is impossible to build wealth when you're drowning in debt.
Right.
Because the debt takes all your money.
Right.
And
your energy.
They have us so constricted with stress, right? So we're consumed with stress because every month a person gets paid, the average person get paid twice a month, right? So it's 52 weeks in the year. That means 26 weeks you get a paycheck, right? Every time you get paid, you have to pay someone else.
Absolutely.
That is stressful.
Absolutely.
You cannot build wealth with debt. Consumer's debt. Let me correct that, because some people say, yes, you can. You can build it when your debt equals to collateral. For example, my sister, she owns a property. So if let's say she was to get in some type of legal trouble and she needed $1 million. If a house is worth that, she can put a house up because she have collateral.
Yes.
if she needs money in an emergency, she can pull the equity out of her home. A lot of us don't have that privilege due to being purposely miseducated. We really need to unify, and we have to stop hating each other. Right, like the brother Malcolm said, who taught you to hate yourself?
Right. Well, that's the point. We got to understand. Remember, I said last week that sometimes we don't look beyond our circumstances. The circumstances show us that we are the least in education, we're the least in finance, we're the least in health. We accuse ourselves sometimes of hating each other. Okay, if we even buy that, let's ask us why. We are not that different from any other human being that would want to do these things upon ourselves. So it got to be a reason. So that's why with my podcast, I want us to go back to the reason that all these things are happening. Otherwise, we will begin to point fingers at ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because my second book, Verbal Healing, we must reject tired, trite, tasteless, and other nonsensical expressions that keep us damaged, was written for that reason.
Absolutely.
We got to know when we say we are our worst enemy. Why? We got to know that we don't love each other. Why? We got to know that we're like crabs in the barrel. Well, why? Do we want to be that way, or was there a circumstance that put us in that position? And I always make the analogy of this virus that came through. You know, it came upon us and it killed over 2 million people in a short period of time, and we were so flabbergasted we didn't know what was going on. One thing we did know, we knew not to go to one of our celebrity because they had money to ask questions. We know not to go to our sports people because they was big and famous to ask questions. We knew not to go to just anybody. Matter of fact, the president of the United States, who at that time was Trump, the most powerful man in the world, came out and told us to inject ourselves with bleach. So we know not to go to someone like that. What we knew was we probably needed our best chance to get through it was to go to someone who had studied it, who had concentrated on the how, the why, the where. You know, going to the person who had studied the viruses. Because there were viruses before there was the cold and all that kind of stuff. But we know this was a special one. Absolutely. We need to really conceptualize that with ourselves. We were enslaved, and if you want to use that word, we were enslaved above and beyond anything else that we had read about in the history of mankind.
Absolutely.
How we were done. So why would you just come to me? Or why would you just go to the celebrity? Or why would you just go to Clarence Thomas? He's the highest black man in the country today. But he doesn't know dooley squat, my mom would say, about anything. So who you would go to, I contend, in my last book, the 3 people that we got to get together to concentrate on how to get us out from under this mess. Faith-based people who have knowledge of who and where we come from. The historian who had total knowledge of our beginning and where we come from and how we got here and where. And the psychologist. Absolutely. Because those are the folks that are going to get to the bottom of what that did to us. Because obviously, having gone through what we went through, I call it a virus. Matter of fact, I coined the phrase, African slave virus 401. You know, because as far as I'm concerned, it was a virus that came through, pulled us out of our habitat, brought us on these shores, brought us through the Middle Passage. We can't even describe what happened through the Middle Passage. Brought us and hoisted it up on the slave block, put us there to be sold to the highest bidder, separated us from our families, which was not, that wasn't enough, right? Then after they did that, they're going to abuse or rape our women, castrate our men, impregnate our mothers from their sperm that they could bear up children to finish the slave theft. So they did so much to us that it's not normal. So it's not going to be a normal action for us to get out from under that. So when we may act out of character on certain cases, and I'll say even with that, we are still acting more human than the ones who didn't go through that.
Yes, we are.
But for the few of us who didn't, we got to stop pointing fingers and start trying to get solutions, some help in a serious way to that. Getting back to the virus, when this virus came through, I went to my primary doctor. He's gone through all the medical training. You know, he was a Harvard graduate. But he said to me right away, I'm not an expert. See, he knew where his limitation was.
Absolutely.
He was an expert in what he was an expert in. But he wasn't an expert in the virus or what was going on at that time. You know what I'm saying? I tell anybody, I'm an expert in being black.
Good teaching.
I'm an expert in being black because I live it every day. I know the ins, outs, the ups, the downs, and what.
I like that.
But I'm not an expert in black living. I'm an expert in living black, but I'm not an expert in black living. Black living entails you have to know what happened to you, where you were, where you came from, who you were initially, and after that, what happened along the way. You got to know all that. You got to have some sense of how to put all that stuff together to come up with a cure. Come up with a virus. Come up, not a virus. Come up with a, what they call it. What they give
Antidote.
us.
Antidote.
To cure us of that. And until that happens, we're going to be always trying to figure out what manner of man are we.
Yeah.
See, some of us know.
I'd like to add to that. When I got started, I said to God, I would like to have the wisdom of Solomon. And then he said to me, no man would ever have the wisdom of Solomon. He said, but search for it as you would silver and gold. And that was back in the 80s. I never forget Whitney Houston came out with the album Saving All My Love for You. I never forget that. And I started on my quest. And I just want to share this quick little story with you. There was a Jordanian from the Jordan on my job as a supervisor. And he did something a little unscrupulous. He had people come in without the authority of human resources to do overtime. And being that he was new, he quite did not know the right standard operating procedures. And he cut corners. And everyone got in trouble. And I said to him, and I was the inspector at the time, and I said to him, after I told Human Resources what really happened and flipped the script on him, I said to him, why would you do that? The majority of your department is black. Why would you do that? Of course we needed the money we came in, and that's why you called us. But why would you put us in that position? I said, you're from the Jordan. You understand the history. I said, boy, you're just as black as we are. You're from the Jordan. And as I got in my car and we began to drive off, he gave me a sign to stop, and I looked and I said, what? He said, actually, I'm blacker than you are. And I never could understand for quite some time what he was saying. And then I began to do the research. He's from the Jordan. He's from the Middle East. It didn't matter that his complexion was almost Caucasian. That's a matter of nature versus nurture, the environment and gene pools. But to make a long story short, he was trying to say his blood was more steeped in blackness than mine was because I was American born. So I've gone through more generations that were mixed, slavery, the rape and the children born out of the slave masters and so forth. He was just saying that I have been through more gene pools than he have. And although his skin may appear to be Caucasian, his blood is blacker than mine. And it just opened my eyes to the things that we don't understand because we're always looking out the outward man instead of looking at who we are. Not only on a spiritual level, but who we are intrinsically as human beings. We come from Egyptians. We invented everything. Solomon
and the Egyptians were African all the way. Everything has come by way of Africa. Everything, if you read.
We just have to reveal these things and then get our people to understand. So I thank God for you, Ruby, and for you, young man, and the work that you've done and started. We need more like you because we're going to take back what they stole from
Oh,
us.
definitely. That's
Starting with our identities, so
With
our
our
children
identity.
might know who they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited about your effort with them on the 28th. I see where they're going to be I think the first episode of it is going to be explaining their lineage, their heritage, their ancestral heritage, and that's exciting in itself. Because when my
good.
church presented that to us some months ago, I was very excited about it. He brought the ancestral person in, and we went through and delved into who we were and how, what lineage we came from. I understand I'm connected with the Cameroon and the Nigerians in some way,
I
but
like
we'll
that.
talk about all that. I'm just totally
I like
excited,
that.
and the kids are excited, the connection that we have with our ancestors. And it's just mind-boggling to know that we are such a 100% people that have been stripped of 90% of what we really are in this part of the in the diaspora. That we have been stripped so well that some of us don't even know how great and grand we are. And
But they knew.
They knew.
They knew.
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew. And
they knew.
because of their paranoia
Yeah.
coming out of the caves,
Yeah.
I always look to the Honorable Raqub, the scientist, as Elijah Muhammad had said, that Raqub described the white man as a devil. Surely his works are, because my Bible say you know them by their fruits.
And that's
there you-
one of the things
good
that
teaching.
we're trying to get to the bottom of. And I ask, I'm sending out this SOS to my white sisters, and it's not to condemn or anything. I want the answer. What's wrong with your men? Because they have questioned us about our men, but we can tell them the few of our men who may have gone astray. Majority of our men are intact, but the few who have gone astray, we can take it back to the stripping. At least we have a point of interest. We can take it back to they were not that way. You stripped them, you made them, you did the blah 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 blah, and now I want to demand from you, what's wrong with your men? You got to give us answers, because your men are acting very inhuman. You're acting like you don't have sense. So if you acting like that and you birth them, you raise them, you support them, then help us understand what the heck wrong with them, So we got a long way to go in a sort of a short time to get there, because what we're going through right now, we can't, we say that, okay, over the next 4 years. But I suspect that it's going to go much further than the 4 years if we're left up to this man who's called himself the president. Because, see, I notice we are not talking a lot about this election being stolen. I don't know why that is, because I know everybody would know that this election was stolen.
Absolutely.
So why don't we hear it? Why aren't we hearing it a lot? Because they accused the Democrats of stealing the election that they knew were not stolen, and they made no bones about it. And the Democrats now, or the people, are not saying they stole this election like you would think that they would be talking. But quite frankly, why wouldn't he steal if he did everything else? Why wouldn't he steal an election? I mean, I would steal an election if I had the chance and was under this. Yeah, if I was in the condition he was in, I would not have done what he did. But if I could do what he did up to that point, why would I then be holier than thou and not steal an election? When he had all the potential. He had everything going from the richest man in the world. He had they say Russia. He had other things. They had 4 years to work on it by accusing us of stealing the election. They knew exactly what to do. So that's why I'm afraid that there may be a hard chance of taking him out of an election when he knows that we are not looking at him and accusing him already. He will go on and continue his presidency until
Well, it's pretty easy to do, because as a people we yearn to be entertained. We yearn for that. Like we want to be entertained. So they're not going to talk about the stolen election, because the world has everybody distracted. Well, not everybody, because I can't categorize the people, but it has most of the people distracted by merits, right? Oh, he's not letting this into the country. Oh, he's calling ISIS on people. So when you're entertained by that, there's no way for you to search for the real situations that's going on, because you're entertained. And what happened? Who controlled the media? Who controlled the newspapers? Who controlled the television? People want and love to be entertained, preferably our people. We love to be entertained. So if every TV station is showing something that Trump is doing, or an executive order was just signed today, oh, now he's talking, he might give you guys $5,600 in a stimulus package. You're already drowning in debt. You don't care about what he stole. Now you're saying, well, at least he's gonna give me something back. Then after that they're gonna dangle that in your face. Then they're gonna say, hey, Elon Musk is planning on to buy more farmland. Now him and Bill Gates is battling for farmland. So all these things is keeping people entertained and occupied. Why? This hand is what they really hide.
That's why it's so important for us, and it's an urgency for us to teach our people. I say again and again and again, if we don't go back to the root of what our problem is, we will get sidetracked on a lot of things. Now, I agree with you, brother, that is the concept. But I think we are fooling them. I've been listening to too much positive thing going on in the black arena.
That's right.
With the churches and
we're coming together.
We are coming together like we never came together before. Because I think we're on to their trick.
Absolutely.
Even when they are saying that some of us voted for Trump, I doubt that. Now, I said before, he stole the election. That I know, I believe. But in addition to that, he concocted the information that we think is evidence that our people voted for him. I don't really believe that many black people voted for him, and it was a small amount that they even could. But I don't even believe that. I don't believe the Hispanic people voted for him. I don't believe any of those people voted for him like he said. I believe they stole whatever they stole, and if they stole it, then they created the image of people. Because they could get dead people out of the grave and put them up there saying they voted. Like he said, the Democrat
IDs,
did.
Right.
But that's the very same thing.
That's the game. That's the game they play, right?
Game.
So they tell you all these people voted for me because what's that's going to do? That's going to put us against each other.
Exactly.
That's
the
just
game.
the game.
That's
And these people are masters manipulators.
Absolutely.
That's why I teach my 3rd through 5th graders. I teach them social science and psychology. If you can understand social science and psychology, you can run the world. All these people, him, Elon, Jeff Bezos, all these people understand social science and psychology.
Yeah.
That's why they know, it's easy to put them against each other. We just make one person seem more powerful than the next. They'll hate it. They'll hate this sister for teaching kids at home school. They're gonna say, who do you think she is? What qualifies this sister? I've been teaching for all them years. She don't know what she's talking about. Instantly. It's the plantation method. You put them against each other.
And it worked for over 300, 400 years, but I think they're at the rose end. I think it's not working anymore because we have on to the game. See, God being our master, he's not going to allow but so much devastation to us at this time, I believe. I believe we have come to a point where it's our day. And if we can catch a hold to the things that I'm even suggesting, not just me, but folks like me are suggesting, maybe unorthodox, but may not sound like the normal way of thinking, but we got to. It's a must that we go back to understanding what had been done to us, who we were. Once we get a hold to a grip on who we were, we won't want to let that go. We knew we were the greatest the greatest scientists. We were the first in humanity. We did this, we built a pyramid. We knew all that. Our young people, that's going to blow their mind. They're going, oh, wow.
Absolutely. When they identify with, that was us.
Yeah.
That was your ancestors. You know, I would like to see a re-emergence of the last poets. I remember I was 13, 1967, and I memorized it. And if you would bear with me for a minute, I'd like to just give you a couple of verses of what they said and have a fun. Because we are at that threshold where our eyes are becoming open. He said, on the subway, I dug the man digging on me. The dude was hung up in a massive confusion as to who I was. He thought he was trying to see. But you see, me knowing me, black, proud, and determined to be free, can plainly see my enemy. Yes, I know him. I once slaved for him, mind, body, and soul, made him a pile of black gold off the sweat of our labor he stole. But his game is old. We've broken the metal hole. Things must change. There is no limit to our range. He could never understand the new black man, let alone see us every day riding on the subway. Just to give you a few lines
beautiful.
of how much.
I tell you, Terry
and
and Ron.
I never forgot it. I memorized that whole album when I was
Terry
13.
and Ron, my buddies, my co-host, former co-host, he has a podcast now, Poetically Speaking. He's looking for people who could come on with the the poetry that you just said.
Yeah, that's good.
I want to get you with him now.
I
know you're listening,
there.
Terry.
Yeah.
Okay, that
that
was
album.
beautiful. Now let me see my folks here. Okay, all right. Just so good to see all y'all. Rashida, Sheila, Joy Jackson from California, Terry Benjamin, Terry, I was just talking about you. Robert Cabishtar, Robert Cabishtar, Ann Chester, all from Florida. Dina Robinson, girl, you know I got to talk with her. Juanita McClure, Joy Jackson, Juanita, Lloyd Shivers from North Carolina. That's my family. That's my oldest son. Okay, someone I didn't call. I saw the name go up, but I didn't call. I'm so sorry if I didn't get your name. It's just that it went past me right quick. Okay, but I always appreciate your checking in, because we're going to always have these guests that's going to enlighten you and reinvigorate, because we have to be invigorated now in these trying times. Rose, that was beautiful. You bring those poems on, and I tell you, it encourages us.
They're in my heart.
In the sister heart. Praise be to the ancestors. In the sister's heart.
That is excellent. And what we got to always know, we're going to regain. There's no doubt about it. We're going to regain what was taken away from us. But what we can't do in the process is forget that it was taken. Because we forget that it was taken, we're going to always question, why are we no further along than we are?
Yeah, and this is really hard, because it's like the story of Moses, right? God sent Moses to tell people about him for 900 plus years. And then one day God just said, Moses, stop telling them. Right. It's time to build your ark. It's time for us to build our ark. And it's not for everybody. Moses went to his son, come with me. I have the ark. The flood is coming. His son told him no. His son said, no, Dad, I'm going to go to the mountains, and I'm gonna be good up here on the mountains. God sent the flood, wipes him out. Moses goes to God crying. You said, if I build the ark, you will save my family. God told Moses something I'll never forget when I read the scriptures. He said, Moses, your son was not of you. Is this war we're fighting, where we're going, is not for everybody who look like us. I'm just going to be honest. A lot of them is not of us. And we have to be comfortable understanding that. God sent Moses. He said, go take 2 of this, 2 of that, build the ark. A lot of them don't. A lot of them want to go to the mountain. And when a storm comes through, they will be wiped
They're
out.
gonna get caught up.
And that's okay. We have to love them from a distance, because too often we spend time on people who don't want the teaching, children and all. I work in youth emergency services. A kid come in there, I can't spend X amount of time on you if you don't want the teaching. Maybe the program isn't for you this year. It may be for you next year, or maybe I'm not the teacher for you. But I can't spend time, because it takes away from someone who's dying for the information.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of our problems too, as leaders and educators and heroes. We keep trying to give it to everybody. Build the ark.
And
whoever want to go to the mountain, they can stay there.
Exactly. But for the ones of us who know that, we need to put that in perspective. Because when we see the folks like Clarence Thomas, we lose him. We may not even try to get him back. Well, we probably shouldn't. But there are those out there like him, like different other ones that I can't call their names right now. Candace Owen and some other ones. We may know we can't, but we need to let those who are knowledgeable to know about those people. See, we may not be able to gain them back, but if we let our people who want to know and need to know who they are and why they're where they are, because they were brainwashed too, and maybe they can't be saved. But if not, it's not because that's their part of their DNA. It's just that part of what has been trained and brought to them. So we let our people know that, at least they will have the knowledge of the, like you say, those that might be saved and those that can't be saved, you know. But we won't just assume that if I see my sister in that position and my brother Clarence Thomas in that position, that it wasn't something that came along to make a person like him, who we know have the DNA to do different, that's not doing it. So there's a lot we got to put forth that our people, the ones who we can say, will know the answer to the ones we can't say.
That has to be our main concern, the ones who wants to be saved. Because every day God wake us up, we have two things. We are given two things by his mercy and grace, a chance and a choice. Every single day you wake up, you're given a chance and a choice.
Yeah. And the one thing we have to always be cognizant of is that because our situation, and I always bring that forward, because of our situation of stripping, we cannot even equate whatever we do with any other group that will do, you know, because we're not in a similar place at any time. At no time that we've been brought over here that we have been equal to anyone else in terms of what has happened to us. You know, we were not allowed. My book, Why Shouldn't I Cry, come from the notion that particularly our black men, were not even allowed to cry when they saw their women being raped, when they saw their mothers' bellies being split open, when they saw their fathers being hanged from the tree. We're not allowed to cry. So that does something to any human being. And until we understand that, until we know that, then we will look at a person like Clarence Thomas and just kind of hate him for what he is. But no, I can dismiss him because I know he could be bad for me. But I do know that there's a reason that even a Clarence Thomas acts silly like he does.
Absolutely.
Excuse the expression, my brother. Okay, this has been a great conversation, a great talk. I'm looking so forward to next week coming on. I'm going to have a minister from my church who we have
shout out to
my First Baptist Church of Lincoln Garden has a school going on. It's called Freedom School.
Freedom
You
School.
know what it is. Freedom School. I'm so excited because he's a very learned pastor who has brought us a lot of information in. One of the ministers who is overseeing that program will be our guest next week. I'm looking so forward because she is just so masterful in what they're teaching us about ourselves. We're grateful for you all that you came out and listened to our program again. And I, for one, Ruby Williams-Shivers, your unapologetic amateur. I'm still looking for experts in amateurism and Africanism, and we are bringing them in. And you can see the brother I have over here. He's no joke. And you can see the sister I have as the director of our new program. It's going to be all that in a bag of chips. So God be the glory. And I want to say bless you all and thank you, my villagers. Just keep us in your prayers.
I am so honored to come under you. No. They're learning from me. I'm going to learn from you. Because we're going to learn from each other. Yeah. Iron sharpens iron, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
One thing I just wanted to put to both of you